I wrote for Kurt at Spy. That's more or less when we first met. And it really was a tremendously important magazine. But talk a little bit about the kind of balance between ironic, detached amusement, kind of lampoonishness, and then social criticism, or whatever that heavier thing is.
Well, it was, I mean, the way we understood it and invented it wasn't just going to be a humor magazine like humor pieces in the New Yorker writ large. It was going to be this alloy of journalism, investigative journalism in many cases, and a humorous, satirical take on the subjects, mostly, almost entirely. And so, you know, we decided we were going to call a spade in all areas and upset people on the left and the right and upset various centers of power. And for instance, again, I'll tell you what my children wouldn't understand if I tried to tell them today, the degree to which, for instance, the New York Times was not reported upon, that people did not say boo about this incredibly powerful institution because it was the New York Times. Why would you criticize the New York? Why? What? And so we decided, well, there's a thing we can do that nobody else is doing, for instance, and other centers of power, so that's, you know, I mean, our motto that we invented before we even had a magazine was smart, fun, funny, fearless. So those are all, and that really was what we tried to do, and sometimes succeeded and sometimes didn't.
Would you say, did Spy have an ideological coloration, or it tried to locate itself outside of all that?
We didn't have an ideological coloration. I mean, you know, we're all bien pensant New Yorkers and believe the right things, but we, for instance, took great pleasure in, as wasn't done much then, in going after, say, the Kennedys and the Kennedy Mafia, you know, with as much relish as we, you know, tried to turn Donald Trump into a figure of fun. You know,
that God knows succeeded in permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So should we say that there was something about that age that cried out for mockery, and therefore Spy was that was its moment?
Well, I think that was its moment, and I think there was something about the post-'60s moment that could go on. That there was a sort of, you know, not that we were yippies in any way, but there was a part of the anti-establishmentarianism, anti-establishment feeling of the '60s produced the National Lampoon and Spy and David Letterman and all of this kind of, you know, irony industrial complex.
Because you're undermining institutions as
yes,
well. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was and so that we had this, we who started it, and we had an audience of people who had sort of had grown up in a time when mocking one's elders and betters and superiors and establishment was a thing one did. Yeah. We just took it in this direction rather than trying to do anything important or consequential.
Did you get successfully sued by anybody?
Never got.
Did you get unsuccessfully
I almost
sued,
knocked on wood. I mean, no, we never got successfully sued.
I take it you got unsuccessfully sued.
No, we never got unsuccessfully
really?
sued.
What was wrong with those people?
Well, the one that came closest, and it was a very serious letter from Gore Vidal's lawyer. We had said we had this whole cover story about feuds, and we had a sort of sidebar on him and his litigiousness. He threatened to sue us for calling him litigious, which was fantastic.
Did you write back and say, "Make my day"?
Well, no, and I subsequently, many years later, a few years before he died, had a conversation with him and said, "Wasn't that kind of ironic?" And he said, "No, I don't believe it was ironic at all." And